Now that Snapshot 1 of World Cultures is complete, we wanted to take the time to reflect on the snapshot and discuss our next steps. We're going to highlight district data and look at the most missed questions. Your instructional coach has access to test questions, which may help you as you look at your campus specific data. So let's begin our reflection. Our first standard we're going to look at is 5B. There were three questions on this standard, and we as a district averaged about 70% on these. This is compared to 80% on the 2019 and 20 snapshot, but this percentage does not tell the entire story. As you can see, question 7 caused a lot of students to struggle. So let's look at question 7. Students struggled with this question to identify that air conditioning is an adaptation that allows us to live in Texas. Most missed questions were what students most picked when they missed the question was about modifications that bring people to Texas, but not adaptations. So the now what? Based on this question and looking back at our unit overview, we discovered we had not provided Texas examples which would cover things like air conditioning. We have added Texas examples to the unit overview, as you can see in the picture. For you as a teacher, think about including more local and state examples in addition to the one we've added to help students understand this concept at adaptation. Our next standard was 5C. There were also 3 questions on this standard, and as a district we averaged about 70% on these. This is compared to 79% on the 2019-20 snapshot. But just like with 5B, the percentage does not tell the entire story. Question 9 caused many students to struggle. So let's look at these questions. Students struggled overall to identify irrigation as the correct answer, with the largest number of incorrect answers being between air conditioning and building roads. Building roads is a modification, but not the most needed for agriculture. So much like the previous standard, we've looked at how was this shown in our unit overviews. And so even though the standard does clearly use irrigation to explain as one of the examples of ways people modified, but we discovered that we did not provide specific examples of mining, irrigation, and transportation infrastructure in our first unit. These have been added to the clarifications to help students understand kind of a basic idea of these before you move on to your regions and get more examples. For you as a teacher, focus on using the terms in the standard to help build student connections when thinking about modifications, especially when you move into your next units. Our next standard was 8B. Our performance was much higher this year in comparison to 2019 and 20, and students and a large number of students demonstrated mastery for this standard. Our next standard is 9A. Our performance again was much higher, or at least was higher than what we had performance in 2019 and 20. And so again, a large number of students were able to demonstrate mastery for this standard. Finally, let's look at how students performed on the thesis portion of the snapshot. First, we want to take the time to thank you for rating and writing these on the snapshot. We appreciate the time you put into this, and it gives us invaluable data when we look at how students are performing and writing across the district. Overall, students' performance was where we would expect students to be at the beginning of the year and in consideration of the last couple of years. District-wide, we had around 30% of our students demonstrate a proficient or above proficiency thesis, with nearly 23% almost at proficiency. There are a couple of actions that we at the district level are taking. First, within our literacy cadre, those members will analyze the questions that we have on the snapshot, and that way we have information and preparation to make sure that these are good questions, but also to focus on what you as teachers need and what students need to be more prepared for this task. For teachers, just remember that we need to deconstruct the writing rubric with students before they write, while they're writing, and after writing to build more familiarity with the rubric and expectations. Continue to work with those students who haven't mastered the skill of thesis even as you move into evidence, which is our second 9 weeks focus. And finally, think of ways to incorporate multiple types of stimulus, maps, graphs, charts, and readings into your evidence analysis. Don't forget that under each subject in Canvas, there is a link to give feedback on curriculum and snapshots. Thank you for watching this video, and reach out to your social studies coordinator if you have any specific questions.